Well, welcome to this Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council Cabinet meeting. Welcome to officers and members of Cabinet in the room. We don't have any public today, but people will be watching online. If you'd like to see the agenda, there's a link to that in the comments. Welcome to Councillor Jill Heatham, who's portfolio holder for Community Safety and Wellbeing, Craig Scalding, who's portfolio holder for Leisure and Culture, Councillor David Hutchins, who's Sustainable Environment, and Deputy Leader sitting next to me, Stephen Sweeney, for Town Centres, and I'm Council Leader Simon Tighe. We have one apology today, Councillor Andy Fear, who can't make it. Item 2 on the agenda is declarations of interest. Do we have any for items on the agenda from Cabinet members? Thank you. Item 3 is the minutes of the last meeting from our meeting of the 3rd of February. Can we agree those as a correct record? Brilliant. That brings us to item 4, which is the first item of business on the agenda. And as usual, it's a Wally's Quarry update. And the report sets out the recent odour monitoring data, the continued actions of the council with multi-agency partners relating to the site. And it's good to note there's been a significant improvement in the obviously the situation at Wally's Quarry, with complaint levels through early 2026 being very, very low. But we of course must remain vigilant and continue to support our partners, particularly the Environment Agency, who now work the site to ensure that those good improvements continue, and also we look to press for the long-term restoration and also government support through money to do that, which is going to be required over the next few years. But I'm going to ask the Chief Executive, Gordon, to introduce the detail of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. And as you note, a positive report in respect of both complaints and hydrogen sulfide levels. So in respect of H2S, we continue to maintain a 0 micrograms reading. This continues to be subject to assessment, and in section 2, there is reference to, on the 26th of February, 1 officer intensity rating of 4. However, we've had 0 complaints for the period February and into March. That then means that we've had 1 complaint in total for 2026. And as we've covered in previous meetings, compared to where we were at the beginning of 2025, obviously that is a marked improvement of some magnitude. The Environment Agency continue to carry out works under their powers to prevent serious pollution on site, most recently working on not having to remove leachate from the site, so getting the leachate plant back up and running, which is a positive development for the site. The EA do intend to continue with their works and will notify the public of that via the EA Engage website as normal. We've also had the political steering group meeting in recent weeks, and again, as you've noted, Leader, the importance of securing substantive government funding for the full restoration of the site remains a top priority, and one that multi-agency groups are working on at the moment. We continue to press for that with government and with local representatives as well, and are looking to further engage with the community as we progress. So I'll pause at that point. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. Are there any comments, Steve?
Apart from reiterating what you said about the number of complaints being minimal levels, which is good news. I think the fact that we keep on monitoring is very good news. But the $1 million question is: are the government going to come up with the money, and is the MP going to work his magic, or hasn't he got any magic? Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, I echo that comment there relating to the funding that's required from the government to remove this as a potential risk in the future. I think as we've seen that brief elevated period of hydrogen sulfide up to almost to 4% just shows that this site is still and potentially still can be an issue. And we know that the EA are looking to do works over the next few months, which could create odours off the site as well. So I think the communications around that will be important when that work starts. I think from a political side of it, I chaired the meeting of the political leaders over this, and I think the team now working on this site for the Environment Agency deserve credit, I think, for how they are managing this site. I think, and that's obviously borne out in the only one complaint recorded in 2026 so far. So I think that shows that we're heading in the right direction. We are going to be holding an engagement session for stakeholders in the community later in March. As people will know, there used to be a liaison committee which was attached to the planning permission for the previous operator. When that fell away, that forum also fell away as well. So that will be a body which will be getting together for an update, which we'll be recording and making available for the community to see after as well. So I think a good picture, one that can go awry, I think, very quickly if it isn't monitored and the work on site isn't kept up to speed and up to scratch. I think the news on the leachate plant is long overdue, and when that's up and running to its full capacity, that will enable all of the leachate, the dirty water, to be processed on site instead of tankered off, which again is creating vehicle movements, but also creating odours on and off the site as that is removed. So I think that's a plus, which I know the Environment Agency has been working on getting that up and running since the contractor, since the previous operator left the site. So unless there are any other comments from members, not seeing that, I think a good picture, which as we bring to a close this council term, I think we're in a much better state than we were when this council's term started in 2022. And I think that's credit to our council officers that have worked day and night, quite literally, on this, and officers past and present. And also, I think partners working through that, particularly the fire service, and the chief fire officer, as he is now, who chaired the response to this, along with police colleagues, county colleagues, and also Environment Agency and government as well. And we're in a better position than we were even just a year ago. So long may that continue. All agree with the recommendations? Thank you. That brings us to our next item, which is implementation of Renters' Right Act 2025 and associated policies. And Jill's going to introduce this one.
Okay, thank you. The Renters' Right Act 2025 has received royal assent, marking a key milestone in proposals to transform the private rented sector. The new regulatory provisions come into force in 3 tranches. The first part was in December 2025. The main provisions commence on the 1st of May 2026, and there will be a third tranche later in the year. The Renters' Rights Act is making fundamental changes to the private rented sector by making changes to abolish Section 21, no-fault evictions, and limiting grounds for landlord possession. It'll provide stronger protections against eviction and discrimination, create a private rented sector database, give tenants rights to request a pet in the property, and apply the Decent Homes Standard and AWAB's law, ending the practice of rental bidding. It'll strengthen rent repayment orders and local authority enforcement. The enforcement of the Act will be undertaken by the Council. And this report is requesting the approval of 2 policies, which are the Housing Standards Enforcement Policy and a Civil Penalty Policy. The Housing Standards Enforcement Policy is to provide clarity on the duty to enforce within the Renters' Right Act and other legislation, recognising the fact that most of the landlord's legislation is outside of the regulator's code and therefore cannot be enforced under the Corporate Enforcement Policy. A civil penalty policy creates a consistent approach to making enforcement decisions in line with the statutory guidance and to reflect the new penalties and fines that the Act introduces. Both proposed policies have been developed for local authority implementation to represent best practice. It is hoped that the majority of local authorities will adopt the policies, therefore providing the consistency in approach for delivery of the new legal requirements and subsequent enforcements, and that's why I'm supportive of approving these policies. With the new duties, there has been an allocation of new burden funding until 2028 and 29 of £101,000. This will be used for officer resources to deliver the new duties. The Act is designed to be enforcement focused with the expectation that it will be financially sustainable in 3 years. There are two other areas of work to be undertaken in preparation for the 1st of May implementation through a review of the scheme of delegation for officers' authorisations and undertaking a review of the debt recovery policy. It's therefore requested that these are delegated to service directors of regulatory services, legal and governance, along with myself. So, yes, I'm asking that Cabinet approve the recommendations.
Thank you, Jill. Yes, so as you pointed out, a major change with the Renters' Right Act to 2025, which has received that royal assent last autumn. And of course, it always falls to local councils to make government's policy work, doesn't it? Yeah. And I just note that obviously the extra burdens this puts on this council and the funding that comes in here and extra staff that is needed. But I think with the government's other pledge to scrap local councils, I think we're going to be very difficult finding people to fill those roles at the moment while there's this flux in local government, which shows that one arm of government doesn't know what the other arm is doing. I think also I've read quite extensive coverage that this may actually cause more harm than good as well. So we must note that as well, that we may have our services again put under pressure with temporary accommodation, which is already at a stressing point in the borough. And this, the Renters' Right Act, may even make that worse. But we do have obviously positives within this, which we will implement and our offshore officers will fulfil. And at the moment, we just monitor to see whether we can obviously employ the right amount of staff to be able to do this and to keep this policy working here as we want it to do here in Newcastle, to help those residents who are renters, but also to ensure that the renting sector remains a viable sector which can provide that important housing for people which they need, both families and others as well, and newcomers to the area. So I'll open it up to any comments or questions. Steve?
Yeah, I agree entirely with you. This is messing around with the market, and that doesn't always work out well. So I'll be very interested and concerned to see how this actually spans out at the end of the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we've got the recommendations before us, which Jill has outlined. All agreed? Thank you. That brings us to item 6 of the UK Share Prosperity Fund update. Really pleased to bring this update here. It shows the scale of activity and investment delivered through the UK Shared Prosperity Fund programme in the borough over the last few years. And also this report covers and summarises the government's evaluation of the programme in the borough, which I think is very positive. It highlights the strong value for money, effective delivery partnerships, and real local benefits that we've seen across communities and businesses, and that skills agenda as well, which we pushed very early in the UK Share Prosperity Fund. And of course, this week has been the business festival as well, isn't it? Which has been hosted by the borough for a second year, which has come out of this funding. Now, of course, the funding ends at the end of this financial year, which is very disappointing. We've received many millions of pounds from the previous government. Then we had a reduction, didn't we, under this government, and now it's been discontinued. And we await to see what the future programmes are announced to continue this good work across the borough. But we're asked to note the findings of the report and the evaluation, which, as I said, makes good reading. And we await to see what national government will do to plug that gap, the cut which they've now made in funding for this important work across that skills, business, communities and environment agenda, which the UK Share Prosperity Fund was giving money to enable schemes to move forward. So I'll open it up to questions and comments. Steve?
Yeah, I think one of the very many things that this council is excellent at is not just receiving money, but making the money work for ourselves. So we had the COVID grants. They came in and they were using them straight away. Same with the High Street Fund money. We were one of the first ones, I think, to have that all spent. And this is another example. The money's come in, it's been used very well. I was at the opening of the business thing yesterday, and it was excellent. The money's been used well. And I think it's making a real impact on our residents' lives. And it's a great shame that it's been stopped. Thank you.
Steve, and just to run through some of the facts and figures, they are in the report, but of the bang for the buck which we've got from the UK Share Prosperity Fund since it was brought in by the previous Conservative government. Over 74 art, cultural and heritage programmes with over 65,000 visitors, 250 volunteering roles created, vastly exceeding the target of just 18, 44 new businesses created, mostly micro enterprises, major improvements across green spaces, includes Clough Hall Park in Kidsgrove. And the government found that 10 out of 12 of the value for money matrix were highly strongly evidenced through our work on UK Share Prosperity Fund. And of course, there is no successor fund, as we've said, to this. We await what this government announces in the next financial year, so we can continue this excellent work that has been brought about by the UK Share Prosperity Fund. But got the recommendations before us there on this particular report. All agreed? Thank you. That brings us then to item 7, which is the approval of the award of the contract for health and safety monitoring. And David's going to introduce this one. David.
Yes, thank you, Leader. The Council has operated remote health and safety monitoring for the last 3 years. It has proven beneficial in the Council being able to effectively manage health and safety and reduce hazards within the recycling and waste service. The system currently allows BIFA to audit individual vehicles for a period of around 20 minutes, independently monitoring 7 defined areas of compliance, such as reversing, the use of the lifting equipment, manual handling, uniform, PPE, slips, trips, falls, and so on. The driver and crew of the vehicle do not know when the audits are taking place, and the staff at the control centre have no knowledge of the individuals that they are auditing. The current contract with BIFA comes to an end on the 31st of March 2026 and needs to be re-procured. The proposed contract will be for 3 years with 3 times 1 year options to extend. 3 bidders in total have put in tenders for the contract. Due to the commercial sensitivity of the contract, the evaluation results and preferred bidders are not included on part 1 of the agenda and are exempt from publication. Now, the Council could opt to cease remote monitoring and return to supervisors physically monitoring compliance of the frontline crews. However, history tells us that this is not an effective way to monitor compliance, as human behaviour means people would tend to comply when they are aware they are not being visibly monitored. With remote monitoring, no one knows exactly when they are being monitored. Therefore, this provides a reliable indication of compliance overall. So I have pleasure today in presenting this report to Cabinet for discussion, debate and hopefully approval. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, David. As you pointed out, we do have a confidential item which has got the more details, which of course are commercially sensitive. But I think this report, as you pointed out, is an important one. The safe operation of our waste and recycling vehicles is really important. We have a lot of mechanics. We have staff that are interacting with that on a daily basis out on the street where there are other vehicle movements and people around. So it's really important that we have that monitoring in place. And as you pointed out, the system we've had existing is going to continue during this this change to the adopting under the new contract terms. So I'll open it up to any sort of questions and comments on this. Anything further to add? Not seeing any. So David, you move the recommendations. Do we all agree? Thank you. That brings us then to item number 8, which is renewal of the Civica AAP for regulatory services. And this concerns another important essential thing that we have to regulate around, and that is the including environmental health, licensing and housing and standards. And the current contract expires next year. This renewal ensures continuity, compliance and the ability to restore effective digital services, and the Cabinet is asked to approve recommendations for a 4-year arrangement as set out in the report. I don't wish to add anything more at this stage, but open it up to any sort of questions and comments upon that on the report. Not seeing any. So as I said, this will placement will involve obviously no major cost or service disruption, and the recommendations are as printed in the agenda. Do we all agree? Thank you. And that brings us to item 9, which is in the same vein, is a contractual report. And this is about the Microsoft licensing, which I'm presenting. And its report covers our corporate Microsoft licensing, which is fundamental to the Council's digital infrastructure, supporting Windows, Outlook, Teams, and SharePoint, Azure, and more. So for residents, that's all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes once you've contacted the council to ensure your queries or your council tax or your service requirements are dealt with, and the existing agreement expires in May, and this is a procurement ensures that business continuity will take place and best value for money through the Crown Commercial Estates framework will be used, and Cabinet is asked to approve the approach and reward of the contract. And we do have a confidential item on this, and also the previous item later, which goes into more details. But I'll open it up to any questions and comments from Cabinet before we agree the recommendations. Not seeing any. Anybody content? Obviously, renewal costs are 685k over 3 years, as per the report, and we will have a confidential item to discuss later on the agenda. All agreed? Thank you. That then moves us to item number 10, which is the recoverable items 2025-26. This is a routine financial report which seeks approval to write off debts that are no longer recoverable despite all reasonable actions. And as members will know, write-offs do not prevent further recovery should circumstances change. Now, there is a confidential report on this as well, which covers the individual cases, which are commercial sensitivity we can't reveal. But Cabinet is asked to approve the write-off schedules for 25-26, and Steve's going to give some more information.
Not a lot else to say, really. It's worth noting, though, that last year we wrote off £165,914. This year it's £151,756. So you could say it's going in the right direction. And that's really all I've got to add. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from Cabinet? Not seeing any. So obviously the recommendation is, as we do, write off those irrecoverable items for 25-26. All agreed? Thank you. That moves us then to item 11, which is the forward plan. As we go through this page by page. It's a bit truncated, obviously, as reaching the end of the council year and term at the moment, but we've covered all of the items that are on the March agenda, and there are a couple there for June, including yet again the Wally's Quarry update, which of course is the first item on our agenda, and we've also got Q4 performance as well in June. So can we agree the forward plan? Great. Thank you. Item 12 is urgent business. I don't have any urgent business. And just before we move to the disclosure exempt information, which will obviously end the webcast and remove the public from the meeting, I'd just like to thank Cabinet members and officers for their diligent work over the last 4-year term. Obviously, we have elections in May, so I'd like to wish everybody that's standing for election the best of luck. And if you aren't, obviously, thank you for your work throughout. And obviously, the Chief Executive is working on our election plan, obviously for the elections to go smoothly. And of course, last night we had our candidates induction communication session, which was well attended as well. So the elections take place on May the 7th, and I wish everybody the best of luck for those, and see everybody back hopefully after the elections when we have a cabinet later in May. But we will now move to item 13, which is disclosure exempt information, to resolve that the public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the reports 14, 15, 16 and 17, as there may be disclosure exempt information as defined by paragraph 1A of Schedule 12A as amended of the Local Government Act. Do we all agree? Thank you.